They laughed, they ignored, they dismissed. And they thought you wouldn't notice, but you did. And what they never realized, what most people never realize, is that the most dangerous person in any room is the one who says nothing but remembers everything. Machiavelli would have smiled at this moment because to him underestimation wasn't an insult. It was an opening, a door left slightly ajar by the arrogance of others, an advantage gifted to you by people too stupid to know the storm they're inviting in. He understood one truth better than anyone. The wise man never done interrupts the fool who is digging his own grave. And when people underestimate you, when they treat you as invisible, incapable, or unworthy, Machiavelli would advise you to let them. Not because you are weak, but because silence sets the trap. You don't correct them. You don't try to prove yourself. You watch. You remember. And you prepare. Because the most devastating power move isn't revenge. It's transformation. The kind that makes them regret every smirk, every dismissive word, every time they looked you in the eye and saw nothing. So what is the coldest Machiavellian response to being underestimated? It's not a shout. It's not an outburst. It's not even violence. It's evolution in, secret followed by surgical exposure. Machiavelli believed the real game of power was asymmetrical. If they attack loud, you respond in silence. If they brag, you disappear. If they laugh, you listen. Because every time someone underestimates you, they leave, themselves exposed. They talk too much. They guard too little. They operate under the illusion that you're not a threat. That illusion is your cloak. And once you put it on, you gain the most dangerous advantage anyone can hold. The element of surprise. Here's how Machiavelli would play it. First, he'd make himself smaller. Let them believe they've already won. He'd nod, smile, shrink, back into the shadows. Because people don't fear what's behind them. They only fear what's above them. And if you allow someone to place you below their notice, their guard drops, their ego inflates. They start to say more than they should, expose more than they realize. This is when your power starts to build. Not outwardly, internally. You become more focused. You train, study, improve in silence. And all the while they continue to treat you like a pawn. What they don't know is that every time they laugh, they're pushing you closer to the edge of a transformation they'll never recover from. Because the Machiavellian doesn't rise with noise. He rises with intention. Then, at the precise moment, you strike, but not emotionally, not recklessly, with strategy. Machiavelli would wait until the impact couldn't be ignored. A public win, a shift in power, a new title, a new circle, a new presence they can't access anymore. You don't announce it, you don't explain it, you become it. And suddenly, the same people who dismissed you now speak your name differently, quieter, hesitant. They ask questions behind closed doors. Wait, how did that happen? Since when? Did they? They start editing their memories, pretending they always saw your potential, rewriting history to soften the guilt of their own misjudgment. But the damage is done. Not to you, to them. Because now they see you for who you really are, but too late to benefit from it. That's the real revenge. Not making them suffer, but making them irrelevant to your rise. The good people who once had access to you now watch from the outside. And the more they reach, the more they realize they no longer matter. Machiavelli would consider that perfect justice, not personal, not emotional, just cold. Because when you stop chasing validation, sir, from those who overlooked you, and instead make yourself into something so unignorable, so undeniable that they can't even pretend to be on your level. Anymore, you haven't just earned respect. You've created regret. And regret to the underestimated is worse than defeat. There's a moment your silence turns heavy. The same silence they once mocked now makes them uncomfortable because something's changed. You no longer react. You no longer explain. You no longer seek inclusion or understanding. And that's when they start to panic quietly, not because you've done anything obvious, but because your absence now speaks louder than your presence ever did. Machiavelli understood this kind of shift. He wrote often about the power of absence, not as withdrawal, but as a calculated psychological weapon. He believed that disengagement from weak circles forces people to reevaluate their power over you. When they underestimate you and you vanish instead of defend, they expect you to disappear in defeat, but instead you reappear above them. And that shift, unannounced, unpredicted, is terrifying to the ego. The first sign is their curiosity. They ask around. They check in, not to support you, but to assess how far they've fallen behind. What are they up to now? Did you hear they've been working on something? I thought they gave up. But that curiosity is laced with fear. Because when you rise without permission, without noise, and without needing anyone's blessing, you become uncontrollable. And in a world built on social hierarchies, being uncontrollable is the highest form of power. Machiavelli would say, the moment they cannot predict you. They begin to respect you. So you keep moving. You don't correct their assumptions. You don't update them on your progress. You don't return to prove anything. You rise like fog, inevitable and ungraspable. And as you rise, their regret deepens, because now they realize they never understood you. They thought you were harmless, forgettable, too nice, too quiet, too average. But you weren't. You were loading. You were listening. You were learning everything about how they think while they knew nothing about what you were becoming. This is the part Machiavelli relished when your transformation makes their former confidence look ridiculous. They begin to feel embarrassed, not just about how they treated you, but about how wrong they were, how blind, how arrogant. And that's when the roles reverse. The person who was underestimated becomes the person they fear making eye contact with. The one they once dismissed now walks past them with a stillness they can't interpret. The one they used to interrupt now speaks, and people lean in. Machiavelli would not tell you to gloat. That would cheapen the wind. Instead, he'd advise a colder, cleaner response. Let their guilt mature in silence. No retaliation, no insult, no reminder of what they did. You let them connect the dots on their own. Because when someone has to live with the truth of how they treated someone who surpassed them, that punishment is more lasting than any confrontation. They start comparing themselves to you. They become obsessed with justifying their past behavior. They try to explain it away. I didn't mean it that way. We were all joking back then. They just got lucky. But deep down, they know you didn't get lucky. You got quiet, and quiet people with long memories are the most dangerous kind, especially when they've been underestimated, because they don't just build success. They build it with the intent to be seen by those who refused to look. And when that moment finally arrives, when they can't avoid you anymore, when your presence makes their chest tighten with everything they could or have done differently, you won't need to say a word. Your very existence will be down, the coldest response they've ever felt. At first they underestimated you, sir, because they thought you had no power. But now they fear you because you never needed theirs. This is the Machiavellian reversal. When you're underestimated, you're gifted something rare, the power of invisibility. They don't guard against you. They speak freely in front of you. They show you the true structure of their mind, their weaknesses, their ego, their flaws. And you, if you are wise, collect every detail like currency, because Machiavelli never wasted a betrayal. He turned slights into strategy. He turned underestimation into undercover leverage. You're not just becoming stronger. You're learning how to destroy them if you ever decide to. But here's the part most people never understand. The ultimate punishment is not to crush them. It's to succeed so ruthlessly that they're forced to watch in silence. They won't clap. They won't comment. They'll just observe with that hollow look that only regret can carve into the face. And they'll wonder, what would have happened if I treated them down better? What if I hadn't mocked them when they were still rising? Did I create this monster? Machiavelli would to say, yes, you did create it. Because the underestimated don't just evolve. They evolve with memory. Every step you take now isn't fueled by hate. It's fueled by clarity. You don't want revenge. You want the kind of dominance that renders revenge unnecessary. And that only comes from one thing: control. Control of your emotions. Control of dream, your narrative unto an song. Control of your circle, control of your pace. This is where most people break. They start to rise and almost immediately want to be seen. They want to post, to explain, to flex. But Machiavelli would see this as weakness. He'd say, let the crown grow before you. Show your head. You wait. Because the more you rise without noise, the more uncomfortable they get. Their minds fill in the silence with paranoia. They imagine what you're building. They invent reasons to fear you. You don't need to exaggerate. Let them do that for you. And then, at just the right moment, you let the truth hit them. Not through confrontation, through unignorable proof. They see your name at the top of something they wanted. They hear others praise your work in circles they can't enter. They realize the people they used to influence now look at you with respect. This is when the panic sets in. Not dramatic panic, but social death. They begin to feel irrelevant, forgotten, outpaced, and worst of all, they can't stop it. Because now you've built something they can't tear down. Not with gossip, not with envy, not with desperation. You've built a reputation that doesn't rely on their approval. You've built results that shut them out of the conversation entirely. And here's the Machiavellian finishing move. You show grace strategically. When you're in the room, you're calm. When they speak, you don't flinch. When they fake kindness, you nod politely and move on. Why? Because nothing destroys a small ego more than being ignored by the one they once dismissed. You don't need to be cruel. You just need to be untouchable. That's the real revenge, not being feared for your anger, but being respected for your untouchable composure, because they expected you to fight. Instead, you became something so much worse to them. Proof. Proof that they were wrong. Proof that they misjudged power. Proof that underestimating you was the most expensive mistake of their life. Now they see you everywhere. Not because you seek attention, but because you've built something so undeniable, so unshakably real that even your silence echoes louder than their noise ever could. This is the point where Machiavelli's brilliance shines through. Because he never sought validation from his enemies. He sought dominance of perception. He understood once your rise becomes public, once your name carries weight in rooms they can't enter, you longer have to punish them. Reality does it for you. And reality hits hardest when it's quiet. No insults, no speeches. Just success, strategic, elegant, and completely indifferent to their existence. Now, the people who once rolled their eyes when you spoke are quoting your words. The ones who mocked your ideas are imitating your moves. They try to catch up without admitting that they ever fell behind. But the Machiavellian doesn't reach back. He doesn't extend a hand to those who spat on his name when it was small. Why? Because they didn't just underestimate you, they revealed who they are. And in Machiavelli's world, your enemies don't deserve closure, only exclusion. So what do you do now? You build something bigger than the original insult. You build a platform they can't climb. You surround yourself with minds sharper than theirs. You rise so high that by the time they realize your worth, the version of you they knew no longer exists. And this is where it gets truly cold, because they don't just regret underestimating you. They regret not being a part of what you've become. They might start fantasizing about alternate histories. What if I had supported them? What if I hadn't laughed at them? Would I be standing next to them right now? But fantasy is all they have left, because you've stopped looking back, and now they can't even get close enough to apologize. That's the Machiavellian response. Not to attack, but to ascend, so relentlessly, so strategically that those who underestimated you become trapped in the past, while you live in the future. But make no mistake, this isn't about ego. It's about memory. The memory of being ignored, of being spoken over, of being sized up by smaller minds. You carry that memory not to dwell in it, but to channel it, because Machiavelli believed power is not just about position, it's about presence. And your presence now carries weight they could never have imagined. You walk into rooms and people adjust. They soften their voice. They stand a little straighter. They wonder what you think. the ones who once dismissed you. They can only sit in silence, remembering a time when they could have stood beside you before you became too powerful to reach. That's not revenge. That's transcendence. The coldest response to being underestimated is becoming the version of yourself they never saw coming and now will never touch. Now the silence flips. It's no longer your silence they mock. It's theirs they can't escape, because the one they once laughed at, ignored, excluded, has become the reference point. You are now the standard. You are now the threat. And they're left fumbling for a way to explain how they missed it. But one, they know. They know exactly what they did. And they pray you've forgotten. That's what keeps them up at night. Because deep down they know the truth. The worst kind of enemy is the one who remembers and waits. Machiavelli didn't believe in impulsive revenge. He believed in legacy damage. He believed in letting your success quietly eat away at the reputations of those who once tried to bury you. And now, without lifting a finger, you are doing just that. You've become the living contradiction to every judgment they ever made. You're evidence that their instincts were flawed. Their perception was lazy. Their ego was too loud to notice value when it stood in front of them. So what do now? They perform. They smile too much when they see you. They compliment you publicly. They tell stories that suggest they always knew you'd become something, but their eyes betray them, because respect given too late isn't respect. It's survival. Machiavelli would say, when those who betrayed you return with praise, they are not loyal. They are cornered. So you offer them nothing. No anger, no reaction, no place at your table. You give them the gift of distance. And while they circle the edges of your orbit, hoping for even the smallest sign of inclusion, you build deeper alliances. You surround yourself with people who never doubted you. People who saw your worth before it had a title, before it had numbers, before it had a crown. Because power is not just about who you keep close. It's about who you refuse to pull back in. And the colder that refusal is, the louder the message becomes. You had your chance. You wasted it. And now you watch. That is Machiavellian vengeance at its most elegant. No explosion, no destruction, just undeniable elevation while they drown in the weight of their own irrelevance. But here's the final twist. You never needed their regret. You didn't rise to prove them wrong. You rose because they were already wrong. Their opinion was never your limit. It was only your starting line. And the moment you realized that, you stopped fighting for their respect and started building an empire that made them irrelevant. That's how you win. Not through drama, not through revenge, but through becoming untouchable. Not just in status, but in story. Because now, every time they tell their version of what happened, they have to lie just to survive the truth. They can't afford to admit they dismissed someone who became legendary. So they rewrite the past. They try to place themselves near you. Try to blur the memory. But history isn't written by those who speak the loudest. It's written by those who became unforgettable. And you've done just that. There comes a point when the story no longer belongs to them. They may have underestimated you. They may have laughed, mocked, ignored, and whispered, but their role is now permanent. They're the footnote, the early chapter, the warning sign to others. Don't make the same mistake. Because you didn't just rise, you became a symbol, a living example of why it's dangerous to dismiss the quiet ones, the overlooked, the underestimated. And that, Machiavelli would say, is the most efficient kind of power. The power of transformation that shames those who once thought they understood you. No confrontation, no explanation. Just a silent, unstoppable shift in position. Where once they towered over you, now they shrink in your shadow. Where once they tried to define you, now they struggle to defend themselves. But you don't linger there, because true power, real power, doesn't dwell on the past. It builds beyond it. Machiavelli taught that power isn't just about the climb. It's about what you do once you've arrived. And now that you've arrived, what matters most is that you don't stop. You don't fall into the trap of validation. You don't reach back to be praised by the same hands that once pushed you down. You keep moving further, sharper, colder. You build the legacy, not just momentum. Systems, not just wins. And people begin to ask not who you are, but how you became this way. And the truth, you became this way because they underestimated you. Because they taught you early on never to depend on being seen. Because they showed you how little loyalty and recognition on me actually mean in the wrong hands. So you learn to sharpen your mind in silence, to grow under pressure, to turn every slight into fuel. You didn't seek pity. You sought strategy, and now they watch the result of that strategy in real time. They see your face in places they were promised, hear your name in rooms they fought to enter, and realize you didn't just take your place, you replaced them. You became what they pretended to be. And that's not revenge. That's justice. Justice in its most brutal form. Not getting even. Getting untouchable. And now the game has changed. Because you don't move for respect. You move to build a name that outlives everyone who doubted it. You become a presence that changes the air. When you enter, you become a figure that doesn't need to speak to be remembered. You become a story that lives in the minds of those who try to silence yours. So let them whisper, let them regret, let them rewrite the past. All they want. The truth has already been carved in stone. They underestimated you. And you gave them exactly what they deserved. Nothing except a front row seat to everything they were too blind to believe you could become. That is the keen, coldest Machiavellian response. Not hate, not rage, but transformation so complete. It humiliates the idea that they ever thought you were beneath